everyone, and welcome back to the Wine Guild. First off, I want to wish everyone who's joining me today a very happy and enjoyable and restful Labor Day weekend. As we're coming up on that, it should be the end of summer. Hopefully some cool fall weather will come in, which is the best for drinking wine, obviously. But it's my favorite time of year. Halloween and the fall, it's just my favorite time of year. The cool weather, pumpkins, fires, etc., the whole 9 yards. That's really my cup of tea, so to speak. But today, also football, right? College football. I'm wearing my Oregon T-shirt when they won the Pac-12 championship, and they're playing actually tomorrow, Saturday, playing Georgia, which should be a hell of a game. Georgia was the national champions last year, so it should be a great game. So hopefully, go Oregon, and if they don't win, so what? At least it'll be a good game. So watch that if you can. So today, in terms of our bottle to drink or taste today, we're going back to Italy, to northern Italy. Last time we were down in Australia, so we're going way back to Italy, going back to the northern Italy, to Piedmont again. And I'm really excited about this one because this grape is what I call a dark horse grape. It doesn't get a lot of publicity, doesn't get a lot of press, and it really is a sleeper because it's an amazing grape. It makes great wine. It's not expensive, and it's one of my favorites. It really is. And that is the Dolcetto wine. This one is Dolcetto from Alba, which is in Piedmont in northern Italy. But I think if you haven't tried Dolcetto, you definitely should, because it's a pretty unique experience. I personally don't know why it's never picked up and gotten to the degree of Barolo and Barbaresco and the other big Italian northern reds. Maybe it's because of the nature of the grape itself. The Dolcetto grape, which means sweet one, is a very dark colored grape, a very deep red, to the point that they even call it black at times. And the wine it produces is not meant to be aged very long. It's meant to be drunk quickly, meaning within the course of a couple of years, which to me is fine. You don't have to wait. You don't have to put in that long period of time to get to taste the good Barolos and the Barbarescos by waiting 10, 15 years. And I've always had an enjoyable glass. So what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about the origin of that, and eventually get to tasting this one right here. And I'll talk a little bit about the Vinter here, the winery, which I think is very impressive to me. Also, I've had many different types of wines by them, Northern Italian wines, Barolo, Barbaresco, and Dolcetto, and it's always been good. And so, that's one of the things I'd like to tell you guys is, if you're really into wine and you really want to make sure you get good wine, learn the producers, learn the vintners, because the vintners make wine in a certain way that always end up in good wines year after year, even without the best environmental climate or weather vintages. So as it really comes down to the vintner and he or she and what they do, the practices they adopt, if they're true to the spirit of the wine, it'll make a difference. And that's been my experience anyway. So let's talk about Dolcetto. Like I said, it's a black grape, very dark red, almost black, called Little Sweet One. Where is its origin? Where is it from? Well, it's uniquely from Piedmont. That's its origin. There's some theories as to it could have come from France, but nothing's been proven. So it's uniquely in Piedmont. You don't find it grown anyplace else. So it's northern Italy, that little patch up in northern Italy. that you're going to find it. The closest thing outside of Italy is something called Dolce Noir. In California, they've tried to grow it a bit. I really haven't tasted anything there, but I believe it's a clone or some type of copy of the Dolcetto grape. So I'm going to be looking for that and see if I can find it in a California wine and do a tasting on that too. That would be interesting. But the traditional tastes of this wine, and the best part about this grape, I think, well, the traditional flavors, we'll see what this one has, but the traditional flavors are like dark cherry, but lighter, not as heavy. It's not a heavy wine, it's a light wine. Maybe some licorice, some earth tones, those type of things. But we're going to see what this guy has to say for us. Is it something worth buying? Is it something worth using? So anyway, before I do that, though, I wanted to talk about the Vinter here, before I do the actual tasting. So let's zoom in on this so we can see this. As I always say, the whole experience is from opening the bottle to drinking, smelling, everything. It's one big adventure. So let's zoom in on this so you can get a good look. So the Vinter's name is Roagna. This is a 2020 Dolcetto d'Alba. Now, I usually start talking about the label. This is a very simple label, but here's the thing. This vineyard has an experience or a reputation of being good, and they've adopted this look, this black label across with the name on it. So this is all they really need to catch someone's eye who's looking for it. They know it, it's their logo, they follow it. All their wines have something like this on it. So there it works. The reputation of that vineyard works on this. So you don't have to be an exciting label if you know what you're doing. All right, so let's zoom back out. And I'd like to talk a little bit more about the Roagua. Now, Roagua is the family. It's the family name. It's a family-run vineyard winery, which to me is very important, because that usually what happens with family-run vintage wineries, instead of the big producers like Gallo and etc., Mondavi, those type of huge producers, they become very mechanical. They become very industrial. This is a family business, which means they're going to put a lot of effort into it. It's part of their being. It's part of their family tradition. And in fact, what they do is they have a manifesto that they produce, that they publish on their website, which is pretty cool. If you can, check out their website. And on there, it has a 10-point manifesto, and I wrote it down so I can remember it all here. But the first one is they only use old vines in historical vineyards. So they're not going to be importing wines from grapes from other places to make their wines. Their wines are coming from vineyards that they have or they own or rent. So they're distinct to that vineyard. Very good, because the wines are old and you know where they come from. The vines are old. You know where they come from. You're not going to get some random grapes thrown in. Number 2, no clones, single vineyard wines. No clones. These are original vines. So grown from the seeds in a grape, grown from the seeds. It's not a cut and a clone. So also an important thing. Number 3, biodiversity. They don't use pesticides. They don't use herbicides. They don't use fertilizers. It's all purely natural. Number 4, maturity at harvest. They make sure the grapes are as mature as they can be before they harvest them. They don't rush them off of the vine to make the wine. They take their time. This again goes back to the family, the family traditions and the family values, that this is their craft. They're gonna do it the right way. Wild yeast fermentation. Now that's really interesting to me, because that means that they only use yeasts to ferment the wine that come natural to the region where the vineyard is. And that's, to me, that makes the difference, because that means it's true to nature, right? It comes from the terroir, which is the French term that means all of the grounds, everything where it comes from the earth. A wine's terroir comes from the nature of the earth around it. So that's part of the yeast, the natural yeast in the area that ferments the wine, the soils, everything. Number 6, long aged in large oak casks. So they do age them for as long as they can. You know, with this wine, they're not going to be aging them for years because of the Dolcetto. It's not going to be. It's not meant to be aged that long. An oak, and I always like oak. Now, the key would be hopefully this doesn't taste overly oaked, right? We don't want that too. We want a well-balanced wine. Low sulfur, which is great. You know, a lot of people complain about the headaches they get from wine the day after or even hours after, and that's because of the too much sulfur used to preserve it. So what they're doing is they're using low sulfur, low sulfites to preserve. So they're taking a risk, right? They could dump in the sulfites and preserve that wine a lot longer, but they're not doing that because they don't want to ruin the wine. They want to make sure it's a decent taste, that people aren't going to get those nasty headaches. So it works perfectly for Dolcetto because it doesn't need to last that long. The wines, the grapes are not meant to create wine that lasts that long. So why ruin it by throwing a bunch of sulfites in there that are just going to give it more shelf life and ruin the taste? Long macronation. That's when the wine is fermenting. They do it longer so that more so than basically it's done by nature, right? So they're not going to speed it up, but it's going to be long. It's going to take its time. It's going to get done. They're not going to use man-made things to change it. Family tradition is one of their points of their manifesto, which to me is great. I love that. Family-run things are always better, in my personal opinion. And then finally, purity of terroir without any added oak. So they're never going to add oak. Sometimes vintners will add oak chips just to get more of that creamy, oaky taste out of the wine. You're not going to get that from them. So this 10-point manifesto really impressed me. I think it's, to their credit, if they hold to it, it's going to be nothing but mean nothing but good things to someone who wants to make sure they're purchasing a wine that they're going to enjoy and that's really true to itself. So that's my background on Roagna, which I think is it's a great vintner, and if you see them out there, I would recommend you buy them. You know that the vintner is going to do something the right way. So, all right, so let's get into the actual wine here. I opened this maybe, I don't know, half an hour ago. So it hasn't been open that long, but I did use the aerator to make sure we get some juices flowing here. So let's start with, what does it look like? It's kind of a light, I would just say medium colored red, not too dark, not purpley, not cloudy. It's pretty clear for a red wine. Looks fine. I like the look of it. All right, not surprised. You would think that because it's a Dolcetto, it's really dark colored, that it would be a darker wine. It really often isn't, because it is a lighter grape, so you don't get the dark color that you get in a Merlot or a Cabernet, like those heavy grapes where you get really dark reds, almost purple. All right, so let's go to the nose. Well, before we do, let's look at the legs. So the legs on it has some legs. Looking at them, they're slowly coming down. Let's see what the alcohol content is on this. Alcohol content is kind of low. Well, in Italy they give you a range. So the range of this is from 11 to 14%. Looking at the legs are still there. I would say this is probably closer to 14, if not 14. So it's, it's a little bit high. The alcohol content would be a little bit higher than you might expect. But now let's go to the nose. Let's see what it smells like. See, now, I'm not getting any fruit. I'm getting floral. I'm getting flowers. Interesting, and this is kind of a morbid thought, but it reminds me of the smell of the flowers at a funeral home. I don't want to bring people down with that thought, but that's really what it smells like to me. It smells like the flowers you often see or smell in a funeral home, like lilies, stuff like that. Yeah, that's what I'm getting. Getting a tiny bit of sulfur smell, tiny, tiny bit. Not much, which is a good sign. All right. Now let's delve in. Let's see what this guy tastes like. All right, definitely dry, which I'm not surprised at. But there is fruit taste. There is dark cherry, like a dark cherry. Maybe a hint of strawberry. Okay, so there's your fruit. There's tannins in it, which is good, but they're not overpowering. You know, the drying out of the mouth, the tannins in a dry wine. Not overpowering. I don't really taste any oak. Yeah, I'm not getting any oak. So they obviously didn't add any oak. And when you're using old oak barrels, the oak taste is subtle. It's not strong. It doesn't come through. That butter doesn't come through. That, you know, that acorn, almond, you know, like the nut flavor. That doesn't come through with the older casts. Excuse me. And I'm getting a little bit of licorice. A little bit of black licorice. Not sweet, but the scent or the taste of the licorice that you get like in an anisette, right? Or a sambuca. The finish is a little bit bitter, but it's not bad. Like, it's not overpowering. The bitterness is not overpowering. You know, that bitterness might be, who knows, might be just the nature of the grape. There might, you know, certain grapes just have that bitterness to them. But it's quite delightful. It really is. This wine, I would give it a 4, at least a 4 on a scale of 1 to 5. Because I'd definitely go out and buy it again. And the best part about this wine is you don't need to eat food with it. You know, a lot of times the wines that are too heavy and not smooth enough, you need to have a food, a cheese, or something to mellow it. This, you could just sit and drink this, you know, and it's an experience of its own. You know, that's what I really like, the smoothness of it. I could sit and enjoy this, sit and watch TV. I could sit by the fire, watch, you know, and relax and just sip this. Yeah, I mean, it's a pleasant experience. It's something that I really like. So, Dolcetto, great grape in general. This is very good. The producer, again, I think it's the producer. The nature and the practices of the vintner are very important. It's going to make a great wine. So I think try it out. Look for Roagna. Look for them. And try the Dolcetto if you haven't. I mean, it's not an expensive wine. $12, $13, something like that. You know, all wines have gone up, much like with everything, with inflation, but unfortunately. But this is, you know, this is a relatively inexpensive Northern Italian wine. So why pass it up? You know, you don't have to go out and spend $50 on a Barolo or a Barbaresco when you can get this for $13. And you don't have to wait and age it either. You know, that's crucial. So, I mean, in terms of food that you drink with, I know I said you don't need to drink this with food, but I guess if you had pizza, it'd be great with pizza. Anything like mild, pasta, you know, because you don't need something to mellow it. It's already mellow. So something that's going to just go smooth with. Something that's not too heavy, not too overpowering. So great experience. I hope you take my advice and try it out. Before I end, what can I say? Just want to say, as always, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe and share so we can continue to build the base here, build the guild, as I always say. Also want to do a shout out to some great YouTubers that I watch all the time and participate with. Tommy Stiggs, Fly Me to the Moon, Thindu, my buddy Thindu and Vito, BK Skip, the Wise Up Show, which is new. You know, check out Ralph at the Wise Up Show. The stand-up guys, stand-up in Sons of Italy, also great. Just a lot of fun, entertainment, positive stuff, positive experiences for the most part. You know, try it out. You know, look them up and tune in and spread the word on them too. So anyway, as always, I would say if you have any questions, put them down here, put them up. I'll try to answer them the best I can. You know, I'm going to establish an email soon and put it up on here so that you can write it. I think it's going to be thewineguild@gmail.com if that's available. I haven't looked yet too, but I'm gonna try to do that. Or if not, I'll find something similar that up there. So write me too. Send me emails. I'll answer your questions and tell me what you want to see. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to taste? I'm happy to. So with that, I'm just going to say thank you as always for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful Labor Day weekend with your family and friends. Enjoy it and get ready for some football in the fall. And as always, thank you for watching The Wine Guild.